we like to bring our listeners inside sports, New York sports, and especially the NFL to the best of our ability. So without further ado, we would like to introduce to the Capital Region this individual on our hotline who will be with us starting now every Monday at 4:45 with the latest on the NFL. Hello, sir. Please present yourself.
Armen, Levack, this is Adam Schefter from ESPN. It is a pleasure and an honor to be with you guys, and just very excited for the season ahead, for all the football talk that we're going to have, and it should be just tremendous.
Shefty, we're excited as well, man. So how are you today? You doing good, Adam Schefter?
Oh, in Bristol, Connecticut, doing a bunch of TV. I know that Wimbledon happened. I know the World Cup happened yesterday, but the fact of the matter is we never stop talking about football.
365, baby.
365, man. We're excited about this. Thanks to Death Wish Coffee. They're making this happen. Of course, Death Wish Coffee out of Round Lake, New York, deathwishcoffee.com. And, Shefty, I think the most obvious question here is, how many cell phones do you own?
Well, but by the way, my wife, big fan of the Death Wish Coffee.
Oh, good.
Big fan.
Good. You guys are already sipping on some Death Wish. Huh?
Oh, yeah. She loves it. She's a big coffee drinker. I'm not so much a big coffee drinker, but she drinks coffee religiously, and she is a big fan. So props to Death Wish Coffee. I got 2 cell phones, and, it used to be that ESPN had BlackBerry service, but they discontinued their relationship with BlackBerry, didn't want to service them anymore. So I had to get rid of my BlackBerry, which I could type blindfolded with my eyes closed and everything like that. And so now I got 2 iPhones, 2 different area codes, and just kind of the way that you have the backup to have one with extra battery pack. You have one as you're typing on the phone. People call up with messages, all sorts of things. So a second phone comes in a lot more handy than you actually would think it would.
Same phone carrier or 2 different phone carriers?
It's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Oh, welcome to 104.5 The Team. We raised the bar here, Shefty.
Or lower.
There are 2, because one phone company covers and another phone company doesn't.
Oh, there you go.
See, you learn something different every time you jump on. Adam Schefter with Armen and Levack. He will join us every Monday at 4:45, and especially throughout the football season. All thanks to Death Wish Coffee. And, Shefty, let's get to it. The latest on Jason Pierre-Paul. What do we know?
Still in the hospital. Obviously has burns on the tips of 3 fingers, 3 bad burns, burned his palm, injuries to both hands. I think, look, we saw the wide range of reporting on Twitter yesterday. You saw how Twitter unfolds. Initially when it happened, there were people saying he lost his hand, lost a thumb. Fortunately, it doesn't look right now as if that's the case. We still have not gotten a final official diagnosis, prognosis, whatever the medical term is, for his future. But the fact of the matter is, I think the Giants right now are semi-encouraged with what they've seen. It doesn't look like right now it's a crippling type of injury, and I think this could have been a lot worse, but again, still waiting for the final word from the Giants and other people.
No, word's out that the Giants have pulled back that 5-year, $60 million.
I don't think that's true.
No, really?
Well, yeah, it's very simple. Number one, do you think that would be Giant-like, the way that organization is operated, to pull back an offer, pull it back, when a guy just injured himself before we know the extent of the injuries? That's number one. Number two, I think that they were discussing general parameters, and maybe they've broken off contract talks. But again, I think that would sound rather insensitive, that organization, to just pull back an offer all of a sudden and say, yeah, we're not doing that. So again, I think it's a case where there was never much optimism that he was going to be signing any of the long-term deal that they had discussed between the two sides. And I think that there are real questions and doubts that a long-term deal will get done between now and the July 15th deadline for franchise players. But it's a situation where, again, I think first and foremost you have to figure out the medical, what's going on there, and then go from there.
Now, Adam, is there a chance that there's concern because even if he comes out of this fine, how far does this put back his off-season workout program?
It doesn't impact his off-season workout program. The question is, when you play defensive line, you need your digits for a lot of different reasons. And obviously, I'm a 5'8" guy, 175 pounds. I've never played defensive line, so I can't say I'm an expert, but I've spoken to some people who say that your fingers are pretty important at that position and that you need leverage, you need the feel, you need to be able to throw the offensive lineman off you, go get the quarterback, go bring down ball carriers, a lot of different reasons that you need the use of your hands. And again, he sounds like he had some nerve damage in one finger, And again, we're waiting for the final word, exactly how extensive any injuries are.
Adam Schefter with Armen and Levack every Monday at 4:45 now. Schefter, the franchise tag tender, we are, as of now, we're expected that he will just sign that. That's not going to be pulled. That's the route they're going to go?
My guess would be, I don't think the Giants pull it because, again, if you pull it, and again, first and foremost, we start with his health. I keep coming back to that, but it's important to note here because we don't know the full extent of the injuries, and I know he was meeting with doctors today, and for all I know, the doctors told him something worse than what he thought or something better than what he thought. But assuming his health is not horrible and it is okay and it is what the Giants initially thought it was, if that is indeed the case and they pull back the franchise tag, how many teams would be lining up to sign one of the premier defensive players in football? You'd have the Buccaneers, the Browns, the Raiders, the Falcons. I mean, there would be any number of teams that would go to try to get a long-term deal done with Jason Pierre-Paul. And the Giants are not about to pull the tag away from him and let him just leave, walk out the door, and get nothing in return. I find that hard to believe. So I don't see that as a viable option. But again, it comes back to the question of his health, and this afternoon, in the last couple hours, there have been no real updates other than he's still in the hospital.
All right, Schefter, we're staying in New York. How about Sheldon Richardson violates the NFL substance abuse policy? How does this affect his negotiations moving forward with the Jets?
Not a whole lot. You're still talking about one of the best defensive players in football. Maybe there's some protection that the Jets work into the contract at this point in time, and I think the bigger concern, if you're Sheldon Richardson of the New York Jets, is another violation costs you a year, and you're sitting out a full year, loss of salary, loss of the team, the whole thing like that. That's something that everybody wants to avoid, and you don't want that to happen. And, of course, you're missing him for the 4 games this year, which is a problem, and you don't want that to be the case either. But it's a situation where I don't think it'll impact his contract. Again, you have to ask yourself, do other teams value Sheldon Richardson? Absolutely. Is he one of the best young defensive linemen in the game? Absolutely. And that'll continue to be the case, and it's why he'll get paid.
Adam Schefter, thanks to Death Wish Coffee. Schefter, how much should we doubt the decision-making of Sheldon Richardson? Isn't it more difficult than ever to fail a drug test in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly true. But look, it happens every year. There are people that flunk tests. There are people that get suspensions. I mean, when you speak to the people in that organization and you go back to last year, they say that he had demonstrated some erratic behavior. He was late to some meetings, and I think there were some people in that organization that were concerned with some of the signs that he was exhibiting and showing. And so when this suspension comes down, I think you're always disappointed, but there were some people that were not completely surprised based on what they saw last year. And so it's a situation where, again, when there's so much at stake, you'd like to think that people do the right, smart thing, but not everybody does that. And in this particular case, Sheldon Richardson didn't do that, and it's going to cost him too.
Adam Schefter, I got to ask you, as we have a lot of excited football fans in New York, as you look at the Bills and the Jets, which coaching staff do you think is doing a better job, and do you have more faith in?
Well, I mean, listen, they're great coaching staffs in their own right, and it's not like I like one better than the other. It's a case where, Buffalo, there's a lot of excitement right now. Rex and his staff have brought a lot of energy there, and there's good reason for them to be excited. And, in New York with the Giants, Tom Coughlin's one of the most respected men in the game. He's polished. He's got Super Bowl trophies. I mean, he's a tremendous coach, great at what he does. And I think the Jets are in a great position with Todd Bowles and some of the people that they added in their front office. I would never say, one over the other. I'll tell you this. People will judge teams by wins and losses, nothing more, nothing less. And if Rex Ryan takes the Bills to 12 wins this year, they'll think he's the greatest coach in the NFL. If he doesn't, they'll want to fire him, and that's just the way that it operates in the league these days.
Adam, any feeling on Matt Castle and any word on how the Bills are they worried about him at all, the fact that he hasn't stepped up the first half of summer?
No, in fact, there are some people that are speculating the Bills already want to sign to a contract extension. Now, again, they still have to decide their quarterback competition. I think there are some people in that organization that really support and believe in Matt Castle, and he was good enough to once help New England get to 11 victories in the season. I still think Tyrod Taylor is a name and a player to watch this summer, and I think he'll be given a chance to win that starting job. I think he probably was the most impressive quarterback during minicamp and OTAs. Now, how that translates into the preseason and once they get into real live games with real live action with people diving at your legs and your feet, then it becomes a different situation. And we've never really seen Tyrod Taylor shine or thrive because he hasn't had the chance at the NFL level in game action. But he's going to be given that opportunity at some point this summer. And if he plays this summer in the preseason games the way that he did during the offseason, I think Tyrod Taylor will have a chance to win that starting job in Buffalo.
Adam, I just want to take a second to gloat because I've been saying that to Armen for a little while.
See, I thought Rex has just been pumping up Tyrod Taylor because that's what Rex does.
No, it's real. I mean, they were really impressed with him. Now, again, it's OTAs, it's 7-on-7 drills. I've seen a lot of players shine and play great during the spring and the summer, and they get into the preseason games, get into real live action, and it takes on an entirely different form. And that's where really the starters are separated from people who don't always shine. So it's a situation here where they'll give him a chance to see what he can do during the summer, and if he can play the way he has so far, then he will have a chance to compete for that starting job. But again, doing it in April and May is a little bit different. Is a little bit different than doing it in July and August, which is different than doing it in September and October, which is different than doing it in January and February, frankly.
Absolutely. Adam Schefter thinks of Death Wish Coffee. All right, Adam, whose appeal will we find out about first, Greg Hardy's or Tom Brady's?
Well, look, Greg Hardy has been almost 5.5 weeks right now, and we've been waiting every single day, and it just seems like it's crazy how long it's gone on. I don't think we'll hear anything on the Tom Brady appeal. My guess would be till the end of this month. So I'm sure that Greg Hardy would be first, but I would have thought that we would have had Greg Hardy by now. So that hasn't happened, and we'll see what the deal is here.
Adam Schefter thanks of Death Wish Coffee. That was a great debut, man. We enjoyed it. We're looking forward to every Monday at 4:45. This is going to be fun, my friend.
I look forward to it, Armen and Levack. Have a great Monday. We'll do it again next Monday.
Adam, thanks, man. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he goes. Adam Schefter, thanks to Death Wish Coffee. How about Shefty already trying some Death Wish Coffee at deathwishcoffee.com?
I know. I feel like I just had a conversation with my own Twitter. I mean, it's one of those things. Like people, as soon as they try Death Wish, they're all in. Like. My love of it is known. My daughter bought me a coffee mug for Father's Day, and the note that came with it said, "Get your Death Wish coffee ready because you're going to need it."
Here's the deal with Death Wish Coffee. They reached out to us. Eric reached out to us last December and said, "Hey, man, all we do is listen to you guys in our shop. Do you mind if we come hang out?" And they came and hung out with you and I last winter, and we became buddies. And then as we started tasting their coffee and figuring out what they do, these are guys that have known each other for years. A few of them have grew up together right here in Waterford, man. And now they do it all right here in Round Lake. They roast, package, and distribute their coffee. And the deal is, Levack, they were the #1 selling coffee on Amazon.com during the holiday season, and that's right out of the capital region. Support local. Death Wish Coffee, the world's strongest coffee. It's incredible stuff.
Just good, fun-loving guys making a great product. I can't wait for their TV show. It has to happen. Has to happen.
You love their story there, man.
Oh, man, just hanging out with them is a good time.
Mention ESPN on the discount code at deathwishcoffee.com. Get 10% off your next order. Adam Schefter, live with Armen and Levack every Monday at 4:45. We're definitely excited about that one.